So, Kelvin immediately summoned Melfina because he was curious about what Melfina would look like.
まず好みではある。
そうですか。
The next day, Kelvin and his friends had breakfast with the dishes Ethel and Ellie had prepared. Melfina was surprised because the food made by Ethel was so delicious. Melfina also didn't expect Kelvin would buy a big house for his friends to live in. Then Garrett and Sarah were immediately acquainted with Melfina because it was their first time seeing her. Melfina felt guilty for the demon Lord Gustav's death, and Sarah must have had some hatred for the heroes who had killed her father in the past. But Sarah didn't mind it. Sarah knew that the heroes who killed her father were not messengers from the goddess Melfina. Then they started joking and talking as usual. Garrett thought Kelvin had already seduced another girl from town so she could live with him. Garrett also said Kelvin wanted to make all women fall in love with him. Kelvin denied Garrett's words because he wasn't what Garrett thought. Then they continued to talk in the living room of Kelvin's house. Melfina told her friends to call her name Mel. No one else is allowed to know the identity of the goddess here. Melfina also gave Kelvin a present as she promised that time. Kelvin had summoned Melfina, so she gave the original skill to Kelvin. The original skill has two effects. First, Kelvin will be immune from death, which can only be used once a month. This effect will activate itself, so Kelvin doesn't have to worry. Second, Kelvin can summon a hero from another world with his own mana and magic. After hearing this, Sarah was pleased because she could spar with Kelvin without thinking about death. Then Kelvin was thinking about this second effect in front of his house. There are many things that Kelvin has to consider to summon people from Earth to become heroes in this world. He also didn't understand heroes because, according to Kelvin, heroes were no different from high-class adventurers like him. If the heroes must kill the demon lord, the high-class adventurers can do it too. The king of the Gone Kingdom also can kill the demon lord because King the Gone Kingdom was the strongest person on the eastern continent. On the other side, Sarah and Melfina are practicing battle in the basement of Kelvin's house. This match was also witnessed by Garrett and Ruka. Garrett loves Ruka very much because she is like his dead daughter. Sarah and Melfina had a very even match and were both strong. After that, Kelvin healed their wounds and took a bath together to refresh their bodies. Then Melfina and Ethel noticed something strange about Kelvin. Kelvin must be worried about the effects of the second original skill that Melfina said earlier. Because of that, Melfina immediately went to Kelvin and asked what Kelvin was thinking.
やりたいことがあるのでは？
お見通しか。
制裁ですから。
Kelvin asked, "Why does this world need heroes?" Then Melfina explained everything about heroes and demon lords to Kelvin. Demon lords always appear in this world because they have a reincarnation system, which will happen continuously. Every demon lord must have a special ability, namely Tenma Heijin. Tenma's ability has two effects. First, the demon lord can create evil intentions from the heart and change his personality. Second, immune from any attack for 24 hours. So, the demon lord can be defeated with attacks from the heroes. There are various kinds of special powers possessed by heroes. The power of humans from other worlds could defeat the demon lords, including Kelvin. After knowing that, Kelvin said what was on his mind to Melfina. Kelvin had reincarnated into this world without having any memories. This is a very profitable thing for him because he can quickly adapt to a new world. But if heroes are summoned to this world, they still have memories of the previous world. This is sure to interfere with the life that will be lived now. Then Melfina suggested Kelvin just use the reincarnation system. The hero that Kelvin will summon later is the reincarnation of someone who has died on Earth. If Kelvin uses this system, he doesn't have to worry anymore. Anyone reincarnated has a second chance to live again in this world. Kelvin, Melfina, or the other gods and goddesses couldn't choose which soul to reincarnate. It all happened randomly. Kelvin can only reincarnate people from the Earth once. After that, he has to wait another time to be able to use this second effect original skill. Before reincarnation, someone can also change the body form and face according to the person's wishes. This can be done by using a lot of skill points. Melfina said that Kelvin didn't change anything from his body form. His face was also handsome and the same as on Earth. After that, Melfina returned to the house and asked Kelvin to think about it again before making a decision. At night, Kelvin had decided to summon a hero. Although this happens randomly, at least Kelvin has a new member to add to his party's attack and defense strategy. After all, Kelvin also has a promise to Garrod to fight the Lysia kingdom. Kelvin's decision this time he had discussed with other friends, and they also agreed on the decision that Kelvin made. If later the hero that Kelvin summons is useless, it means that Kelvin's ability is only limited to increasing party cooperation. Melfina will guide Kelvin on how to reincarnate someone from the Earth. Then Kelvin began his reincarnation stage. He sent Garrod, Sarah, and also Melfina into the summoner class system so that MP or Kelvin's mana could be used to summon heroes. After that, Kelvin drank a potion to recover his MP. Kelvin only left one MP point to summon one hero. After that, Kelvin relaxed first by drinking coffee because this reincarnation takes time. Melfina said that this reincarnated person selected abilities and assigned skill points to several abilities. This is the same as what Kelvin did before. The time world of the goddess and gods was slower than the time in the real world or other worlds, so Kelvin didn't have to worry. Then the person began to appear in front of Kelvin and Ethel after finishing selecting abilities and distributing skill points. She is a 14-year-old girl named Rio. Rio didn't expect that she would be reincarnated into this world. Kelvin apologized to her for reincarnating Rio suddenly. But Rio didn't mind that. She was grateful to be given another chance to live. Then Rio thanked Kelvin because he had reincarnated Rio to another world. After Rio hugged Kelvin, she suddenly fainted, also Kelvin. This can happen due to fatigue during reincarnation for Rio. Kelvin faints because he has sacrificed a lot of MP to summon this one hero. At midnight, Rio and Kelvin had woken up from their faint. Rio left the house to enjoy the beauty of the other world she had always dreamed of. Then Kelvin approached her and started talking with Rio in the yard. Kelvin says that he comes from the Earth, and this reincarnation is the same as Rio's. But Rio still had the memories that existed on Earth, while Kelvin didn't have them because he had been sacrificed for the S-rank summoner class. Kelvin died on Earth due to God's fault, so he was reincarnated into this world. Kelvin also shared his feelings with Rio about when the first time he was suddenly reincarnated with no memory on Earth. At that time, Kelvin was very confused about this world. But he was lucky because Melfina was beside him and guided Kelvin. At first, Kelvin was worried because he didn't have any memories and only remembered the taste of food and his feelings while on Earth. But when Kelvin tries to adapt to this world, Kelvin can follow life like what people go through here. Not only Melfina but many friends have also supported and accompanied him while in another world. Kelvin has gone through many battles with his friends, and he is grateful for being allowed to live again. Kelvin had already become an A-rank adventurer and was dubbed the hero of the city of Potsy, a tiny town compared to the other cities. Kelvin also said, if Rio disagrees with being reincarnated in this world, she can live his own life, and Kelvin will not disturb Rio. Then Rio still decided to be with Kelvin because another world is what Rio has dreamed of all along. She has always wanted to be an adventurer who can level up like the stories of the fictional novels she has read on Earth. Since childhood, Rio has suffered from chronic diseases, and his life has always been in a hospital environment. She never went to school, went out for a holiday, or even played with friends her age. When Rio dies from his chronic disease, she is allowed to live again in another world. Rio was afraid of getting the chronic disease again and having no friends after living in a new world, so she chose vigorous and friendly abilities. Rio's other abilities were also based on what she had read in fiction novels. She is a swordman class and has double EXP, double skill points, acrobatics, and the original skill called cut marks. Rio will try her best to become a member of Kelvin's party. Kelvin was pleased to hear Rio's words and requested one thing. Kelvin wanted to make Rio his younger sister, who came from another country. Kelvin also wanted to call her Ryan because the Rio name was already used by the grandfather of the Adventurer Guild leader in Potsy City. Kelvin hates Rio's behavior, which always analyzes other people's identities. Even though Kelvin already has the high-level status concealment, Rio can still analyze Kelvin's status. Then Ryan didn't mind the name Kelvin wanted. Ryan is very happy to be Kelvin's little sister because she was an only child in the previous world. Then Kelvin and his friends promised to guide and advise Ryan to become stronger in this fantasy world.
これから忙しくなるぞ。
兄ちゃん、お兄、ケル兄